So
Yeah.
I think of, it's you could be the, dumb as a post and you have an experience and you give it to somebody and they write it and you sound
Yeah.
like a genius
Yeah. Yeah. But
and you're
what I
not.
actually do, exactly.
Classic books were things I had to read.
Right. No, we didn't. I didn't really do. I did the English language, but I wasn't that good at lit. Didn't really do
I had to
literature.
do both. I did English
Right.
language, which is grammar and whatever, but I also
Yeah.
did like, novels and
Yeah.
stuff, you
Yeah. I
know.
didn't. I
Yeah.
languages was really not my strong. Maths, science, walked it.
Yeah.
Languages, yeah, not so much,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, languages are hard. I mean, listen, you're either what they
It's
say,
one
not
way or
that
the
you
other.
can't use both sides of your brain,
Yeah.
but they say people who are left brain oriented, in other words, you go to the left side of your brain, it's
Yeah.
easier to go there first and foremost, is
Yeah.
usually math and sciences.
Yeah.
And things like creativity and arts and languages are on the right side of the brain.
Mm. But then they have to communicate.
Yeah, and you obviously can use both sides. You just have to
Yeah.
train your brain to do that, right?
Mm.
I was trying to think of the other Thomas Hardy books. Far from the Madding Crowd was one of them.
Mayor of Casterbury.
Which
Mayor,
one?
Mayor of Casterbury.
Oh, I don't think I've ever read that.
I've listened to it on Audible, that's why. Ha ha ha.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
Mayor of. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'm sure that was one of hers, whatever. It's not on the list.
Mm.
Tess of the D'Urbervilles. Oh, that's a classic. Here we go.
Oh,
Mayor of
there
Cal.
you go. That's a good one.
Yeah, Tess of the D'Urbervilles. The
Hmm.
Mayor of Casterbridge it is the one I'm thinking of. The Mayor of
Hmm.
Casterbridge. Oh gosh, there's quite a lot I haven't read. Blimey, I ought to go back and look at them.
Yeah.
Funny how you come across it. Funnily, actually, when I first picked up Far from the Madding Crowd, and I read the first couple of pages, and it really didn't grab me. And I went, oh, and I put it down, and I didn't pick it up for quite a long while, maybe months later. I thought, oh, I'll try that again. And I absolutely loved it when I actually read it again. And it just, I got into it and off I went. But it was funny how initially I just went, what?
I think I was like that for my when I was in school and I
Mm,
had to read some books. I was just not into the
yeah,
topics or the verbiage or the word structure or the sentences, whatever.
yes.
And now I go back to some of them and I go, yeah, I can see why it's a classic.
Yeah. That's what I love about Jane Austen. The description, the language, the flow of it. That is just, I'll tell you
So do
what,
I.
I
Yeah.
mean, what was that? 1700s she was writing these books,
Yeah.
and that would be physically writing them.
Yeah.
Physically writing. Same
Yeah.
as Charles Dickens, physically writing.
I know.
And we
Amazing.
and what we can do on a computer nowadays would knock it out in 5 minutes in comparison. It's crazy, isn't it?
Exactly.
Crazy. Oh
Now,
my God.
now, somebody I'm sure could write a whole book with AI.
Oh, I think yeah, that's cheating.
It
Sorry.
is. I agree. I think it's cheating.
Cheating.
But I feel like it's also like what's cheating is similar as like people who use ghostwriters
I agree with you.
because
Yeah.
it's not your
Yeah.
words. It's
No.
their words, which can make it sound so much more better than what's in
Yeah.
your brain. Even if the experience is yours and you describe it to a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
The ghostwriters, it's coming out of their head, the sentence
Mm.
structure and the flow of the words and that's what
Yeah.
makes a book. That's what makes a good writer,
That's
right?
like when I wrote my book and the editor, and there were times there was one particular sentence that she changed. I'm like, no, no, that's not what I mean.
Yeah,
And I changed it back, and she went, that's not grammatically correct.
yeah,
And she wanted to change it back to her wording. And I went, no, because that's not what I
I
mean.
mean, yeah. And
And
it also
eventually,
doesn't give a sense of you,
mm,
the way in which you use words. So
yeah,
I think of, it's you could be the, dumb as a post and you have an experience and you give it to somebody and they write it and you sound
yeah,
like a genius
yeah, yeah. But
and you're
what I
not.
actually did, exactly.
All right.
What I actually did with that sentence was I was talking to somebody else and I went, I'm really frustrated with my editor because she keeps changing this sentence. And then she gave me a different slant on it, which actually made she got what I was saying, but put it grammatically correct.
Found a better way to phrase it grammatically. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's what we used because that it did say what I wanted it to say,
Yeah. Yeah,
type of thing.
absolutely. Yeah.
But that's the only bit. And the other thing I found actually writing the book, writing the book wasn't too difficult per se. Um, but I would send it to my editor. I'm writing it in Pages on an Apple Mac. Sending it, I have to then convert it to a Microsoft because Microsoft can't read Apple, whereas Apple can read Microsoft. Sending it to her, she'd then be doing corrections and she'd start um, formatting it, and then she'd send it to me. But the Microsoft formatting isn't read by Apple, and it was a nightmare. I tell you, I wouldn't necessarily use her again, but I certainly, if I was going to write, and when I write another book, um, I would actually make sure that the person I'm sending it to has got Apple pages so that it is translated,
It's
it's
probably easier now to convert, okay? And
I
now
can convert
now
it. I
there's a
can convert it.
possibility, but maybe then it was too early for that because
Well, no, it was only 2019, so 7 years
okay.
ago that I wrote the
Okay.
book. But my Apple can convert it to Microsoft, and then I would
Yes.
send it to her in
Yeah.
Microsoft.
Yeah.
What she would send me back in Microsoft, my Apple could then say into Apple
Yeah.
pages,
Yeah.
but it didn't access the formatting as
Yeah.
such.
Yeah.
So I'd have to go, or if I'd done formatting, it wouldn't, and that was a nuisance. That was a bloody nightmare. And
Yeah.
I'm not,
Absolutely.
though I've written the book and I'm happy with it, and it did come out sort of the way I wanted. There's certain things that I would have liked to have done slightly differently, or I kept saying I wanted something at the beginning and she wanted it at the end. And do you know what I mean? It's just sort of one of those things when you go, no, it's my book, for goodness sake.
So
Story.
what would your second book be?
Oh, I don't know. Whether it be, I don't know actually, because having written down that book, because it was about the home education, um, radical home education, I called it. Uh, and so all these stories were in my head anyway, because I told people these stories about our experience of home educating. So there were already these stories that I was continually repeating over the years. So it was easy to write them down and then put them into a book format and then just expand on things. Um, so that was quite an easy, in a way, it was an easy book to write. So if I'm going to write another one, there I've gone back to if. I need to really think about what do I want in that book? How do I do it? Don't know.
Do you think books are better than movies, or has there ever
Oh,
been an instance
absolutely.
where you've watched a movie and it's been better than the book?
Ah, that's a good point. They did Lord of the Rings, not the more recent ones, but originally years ago, they did a Lord of the Rings, and I was really disappointed in that in terms of the Hobbit didn't look like a Hobbit to me and whatever. I must confess, having watched Lord of the Rings, and they actually did pretty good with it, I had to let go of my image of what I thought a Hobbit looked like or what this looked like, to be able to enjoy the film.
I would agree. I haven't, I'll be honest, maybe it's just I'm not prolific enough in terms of how
Mm.
many books versus the movies that I've seen.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, every book where I have read and watched a movie, subsequent movie made of it,
Mm.
sometimes there's things that I'll tell you the good and the bad. To me, most of all, I find most of the time it's never the same, and I find the book overall better.
Yeah.
However, the good part I find is that there are points sometimes in a book that, despite how well it is written, sometimes you just can't get an image of something that's being described fully. You
Mm.
might get all the everything else, but there might be one image that escapes you or
Yeah.
whatever. The
Yeah.
movie goes, oh, that's the part I didn't get. Okay, because I can visualize it.
Take it
That's the
then.
only thing I think is
Yeah.
good. But I find that movies, obviously the way a book is written and the way a story jumps
Mm.
around is different than how it could be presented visually. And that I find is sometimes ruins it for me. So it's
Yeah.
very funny because not this year, but last year, I think it was last year, I bought a book and I never got around to reading it because I always buy like something in the airport or, before I go away
Yeah.
to read on the plane or in the ship or something. Noel and I enjoy reading at nighttime, and, we
Yeah.
read our novels on sea days and we're sitting around the pool and we read.
Yeah.
And we like real paper,
Yeah.
so we buy
I
books.
agree. Yeah.
And uh so I had bought this book and I for some reason I guess I had two books, so I read the other book and then I guess it took longer than I expected, and so I came home and I said, no, no, I'll read this book, I'll save it for my next trip, which turned out to be a year later almost, right? From the
Yeah.
time I actually bought the book.
Right.
So I brought that one with me on vacation this time around.
Okay.
And I left it on the table and, would be on the table when we'd be on the, by the pool or whatever. And the number of people go, that's a really good book. Oh, that's a really good. Oh, that's a really good book. And I'd be like, I would have known this had I read this last year. Okay. But it was funny because then Noel told me, oh, yeah, Netflix actually made a movie of it.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, well, since I had canceled my Netflix, I wouldn't know that. So I'm like, okay, well, if I get Netflix back, I'll watch it again. I'll watch it. But I
Mm.
said, I'll read the book first. So
Mm.
I did read the book on vacation. And then 2 weeks or a week ago, I said, I have to find that on Netflix before it's gone,
Go on.
and I'll
Yes.
go watch it. It's, I think her name, the author is Ruth Ware.
No.
And the I don't know where, let's see where she's from. Let's see.
So what's Ruth Ware? How do you spell her surname?
Ware. She is
Ah,
from Lewes, UK.
okay.
Okay.
Lose.
Yeah. That's why probably the number of people walking by me said it was so great we're British.
Yes, let me have a check on my Audible.
Yes. And it is
Um,
called The Woman in Cabin 10. Now, what
okay.
was so interesting is I bought this a year before I actually read it because I said, oh, I'm going on a cruise, and this is obviously about a woman in a cabin on a ship.
Yeah.
I thought this will be appropriate for me to read. It'll be interesting for me to read. But then, of course, I didn't get around to it till this time I was on a ship.
Yes.
It's good. The book is very good. I thought the book was really, really good. Anyway, I watched the movie,
Yeah.
the Netflix version. Now, of course, being British, they have great actors in it because I think
Yeah.
all actors, the best actors are British actors. Okay.
Naturalement.
Naturally.
Naturally.
That's just my personal opinion. I mean, if I have a choice of watching, if I have a choice between, I don't know, Helen Mirren and, I don't know, whoever, I'll pick
Can't,
Helen
can't,
Mirren. you know.
can't think of an equivalent American, can
Exactly.
you?
And that's most of the time I can't even. No, I'll say Meryl Streep. Okay. There are some
Okay.
good ones on British, American or Canadian or anybody else who
Mm,
are fairly good, but I find few and far between when you get really good ones. But en masse, out of the Brits, I can name at least 10 amazing friggin' actors. At least
yeah.
10 off the top of my head, if not 20 off the top of my head. Great cast there because, as I said, British, all
Mm,
great. Guy Pearce, love
okay.
him.
Don't know.
It's in that. Keira Knightley is the lead.
Oh yeah.
Okay. She's okay in that role. It's not fabulous, but she's okay in that role.
Is she British?
Yes, she is.
I thought she was Australian.
No, I don't believe she's Australian.
I could be wrong. Okay.
Let's find out where she's from. And born in London, I believe.
Okay.
Paddington, London, wherever that is.
No, I don't know.
Okay, anyway. So she was
Okay,
in
I was
it.
wrong.
I watched the Netflix
Mm.
movie. And then right away, because I had watched it too close to the reading,
Yes.
that's the
That's
other
the
thing I
problem.
find. If I
Mm.
had forgotten maybe some of the book, then
And then
watched
what?
it, maybe I wouldn't have been so whatever. But the first thing I said was, they didn't do that in the book. That's not how it happened in the book. In the book,
Yeah.
they use this. Oh, that's a different example of this. So, but it's
Mm.
not a good example. Like she used that example to write it because it was whatever, it was better.
Adequate. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think sometimes when you watch something too close
Yeah.
to the thing, it ruins it.
I think the other thing is, if you think of what J.K. Rowling did with the Harry Potter, she kept control of the film.
I think
She
that
did,
was helpful, but I'm going to
yeah,
tell you, even that to me was a tiny bit disappointing. I
really.
have read all the Harry Potter
Yes,
books,
I have. Yeah.
forward to back and back to front at least three
Mm.
times. It's
Not that.
kind of
I've
like to
read them
me,
all
it's
once.
now a classic, okay? To me, those are now in the classics
Yeah.
tape
Yeah.
along with the Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
You do what
Yes.
I mean? Like now, these are
Mm.
classics to me. And when I think the first movie, for the most part, was good, but there were certain things again that I didn't necessarily like. Now, I've watched those
Okay.
movies 100 times since they came out,
Mm.
and because it's, 10 or 15 years or who God knows how many years now since the first movie came out, I still didn't like there were certain things that I held on to in my memory of that book
Mm.
that just didn't play out in the movie no matter how much
I
I
think
tried.
that it's,
And I've grown
yeah.
to accept it
Mm.
because I've seen the movies for the last 25 years. So you just get to accept that okay, the movie's good because, whatever. But if
Yeah.
I go back and read that first book now, I go, oh, yeah, that was so much better the way she wrote that. I
No,
agree
it's
with
not.
you. I dislike when an author
Mm.
is still writing a series and the
Mm.
things are still starting to come out because they do change the
Their
way they
style.
would have written something to
Yeah.
accommodate the
Film.
film. And
Mm.
I'll give you an
Yeah.
example. The guy who wrote, and he's kind of like Tolkien, you know how it's J.R.R. Tolkien or whatever. He also has a name like something like J.R.R., but it's not J.R.R., it's something, but it's three letters in his last name, who wrote Game of Thrones.
Oh, right. And I've not watched that at all.
I can't tell you again, the
Or read it. I
first
don't know what it's
season
about.
or two seasons or the first
Yeah.
three seasons is dead on to his books and or as good to his books because he had a
Yeah.
lot of control like she did. Or
Yeah.
it was important that he say, listen, these are the things you cannot let go of because
Yeah.
they
This
make or
has to
break
be
the
in.
story.
Yeah.
Cannot change these things or whatever. And because I'm still writing them.
Yeah.
But because the series was so popular, it was
Mm.
surpassing him.
Yeah.
They make up shit that's not in the story, or then he has to make sure that it matches, or I hate that. I hate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you read the Cormoran Strike ones, which were also by J.K. Rowling, but under a
I have
pseudonym?
not read those, but I
They
hear
are
they're
good.
pretty good.
I've got them on Audible and I've listened to them a number of times, and she's now got, oh, there was, yeah, one come out last year. BBC have
Yeah,
actually done series of them.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
They're not quite as in depth as the book, but they're still really good, and it's worth watching if you can. And they're just making the next one. I think there's written
I
four.
had a little tiny book
Mm.
that was written after, or she was still writing the books or whatever, but make reference to in the Harry Potter books. You know how there's the story of the cloak and the
Oh
little
yeah, the
thing,
sword, the wind wand.
the wand, the cloak,
Fire.
whatever. Anyway, I have these in a little book. It's called The Tales of Beetle the Bard.
Yes, I know what
Okay.
you mean. I've not.
So
They've never.
even though they make reference to them, they don't tell you what those tales. I mean, they kind of show
Yeah,
you the whole story of the wand, the cloak, and the whatever because they have to. It's key to the
that's
story,
in book seven. It's in book
right?
seven, and it has to
But
be.
Ron often talks. Oh, my mom used to read us Beetle the Bard,
Yes.
whatever. Okay, well then she wrote Beetle the Bard and put some tales in there,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
had that too with my set of Harry Potter books.
Mm.
Yeah, okay, so let's go back. There's the Cloak of Invisibility, the
Yeah.
Elder Wand, and the
Yeah.
Resurrection Stone.
Oh,
Okay, now
yeah.
in the first movie, you're correct. They talk about the Philosopher's Stone, but we don't really okay, we see it in his pocket in the movie,
Mm.
and we know it ends up in his pocket in the movie or in the books, but
Yeah.
we don't really know much about the
Where it come from.
where it comes from. That's
Yeah.
true. Um, we do read in the book again a little bit of who they believe either was the owner or the original person, or he lived long,
Mm.
or because of it, or whatever. But it's not really expounded upon like
It was
some
sent
things.
back to him and destroyed, wasn't it, by the one that was living longer, the person.
Yes, I believe in the books we hear that,
Yeah.
but not in the
Yeah.
movie.
Oh, I think it is.
Oh, yeah?
I think it is referred to about the stone going back to, or whether it's one of the later, I don't know, that stone had been destroyed by, and I can't think who the person is that had it.
Um,
Who was
okay,
it?
so what we know is in both the movie and the book, we know it's Nicholas Flamel.
That's the one. Because she went
Okay.
and looked him up in the
Yeah.
certain part of the library and
And we
found.
know, yeah, that's right. And we know that it grants immortality, and we know
Yes.
that it can turn metal into gold. So it is a true alchemist,
Oh,
right?
I didn't realize that.
Because that's
Okay.
what an alchemist really does,
To
right? Or an
do. Yeah.
alchemist was trying to
Trying to
do.
do. But
Exactly.
it
That's
cost
what.
more than the gold was worth to try and
Correct.
do it.
Correct. Um, um,
That's crazy. It just shows how greedy people are.
yeah.
I actually
Okay.
binge watched the BBC Cormoran Strike series the other
Yeah.
few weeks
Yeah.
ago. So I'm waiting for the next one to come out. So I
Yeah.
wanted to watch them again. And I
Yeah.
also listened to them on my Audible again,
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of thing. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so I binge
Yeah.
listen as well.
Yeah.
So but yeah, Lord of the Rings is brilliant. I read that when I was sort of 16,
Yeah.
because I wanted to, not because I
Okay.
had.
Okay. So here's the one thing. At the end of the books, it is agreed that Dumbledore and Flamel agree to destroy the stone.
Yes.
So Voldemort can't get his hands on it. But the movies never explicitly show or state that it was destroyed.
Is that what you're reading?
Yep.
But I
Yep.
had it in my head that actually happened, and I've only
Yeah,
watched.
you see, but that's because you're extrapolating it from the book. So this is where I
Really?
say,
I haven't
if
read the book for
if
years.
you had read all the books, then watched all the movies, you'd do like, that's not happened. That's not what they said. That's not it. Like I was doing with this
Yeah,
this
yeah.
thing I watched recently. That's not good.